More conversations to be had as we're looking at BLGS and ALGS World Championship with legend metas right now. What is going on with the shift that we've been seeing, and how is BLGS stacking up differently compared to ALGS? Well, here to talk about not only that, but roster changes that have taken place and how these guys are performing now, and the final team's now been confirmed for ALGS World Championship. Don't forget, some of this has changed due to other roster changes that caused other teams to lose their spot. So let's dive into it. Firstly, wanted to make mention of the scrim results from last night. BLGS scrims: Cloud9 in first, SLG in second, which was Golden Shinny and Luxford, by the way, and then Furia in third. Falcons in fourth, which, by the way, was missing Waltzy. Dojo in fifth, Stallions in sixth, Phoenix Team in seventh, Complexity in eighth, Pioneers in ninth, and then you've got Broskis in the top 10. Moist Esports in 11th, Bleed, Oblivion, Elevate, Flat, Thuggets, NRG, Dragons, No Sweat, and Insomnia for the bottom 10. But going into these rosters, you'll notice some of these obviously a little bit different than what we know is their final roster. So, for instance, you could see Falcons obviously playing with Sykes instead of Waltzy for this one, not the norm, but things definitely seem to work out, a little bit better of performance than what they had, top 12 in the last one. So Dojo in top 5 again, this time playing with Design instead of Enemy, right? This is their normal roster. Enemy was just a fill-in. But then you've got over on the right side, you'll see that Skittle Cakes was playing with Bleed Esports. So what is going on here? Skittle making his return to the ALGS. Is he making his return to Apex? After we've been seeing all these roster changes, he's not really been involved in much of these. Obviously, since all of this kind of began months ago, we thought we would see him go somewhere with someone, and it wasn't really that. It was Dropped and Nox staying together, and now it looks like after all this has happened, Skittle is involved. Yanya was not playing in this one, but I'm sure obviously Yanya just now getting announced. I highly doubt they've already replaced the guy. That would just make no sense at all. So interesting to see if he does go to another team, especially for BLGS, but definitely worth mentioning as far as these results are concerned. Now, player stats, of course, we've been following Furia despite all the trauma that they had apparently gone through in the last couple of days, and videos that we talked about Keon opening up with I'm Madness, saying their frustrations, their issues that they've been having. Madness popped off, and Furia looked really, really strong, and even like one of the best E-District teams out there, which is a whole new dynamic considering we are not playing just Stormpoint and World's Edge anymore. Zero up there with Falcons. You've also got a couple others from, Alberlelli, Shubi, Saucer, all of these people, but it was Furia on top for this one. And then also you notice from the day before, it was Jin Burton and Enemy up there. So those guys were slaying as well. So interested to see how it all breaks down. But one thing that is very interesting to note, pick rates. The legend pick rates are changing. They are different. BLGS is a new style of play than what you're used to seeing with the old ALGS, especially with the map differences here. So it is not necessarily as crypto heavy in all these avenues, but you're seeing Bangalore, Catalyst, Newcastle as the #1 combination for teams. What's really good to see here, though, is how diverse it is. #1 is an 18.13% pick rate. That is huge, right? That's totally low compared to what we saw like ALGS year 2. Everybody's rocking Valk and Gibby, like a 99% pick rate of what those people were using with all three of the same legends. So I'm glad that we're not in those days anymore. You're seeing a lot more Catalyst with BLGS. You're also seeing a lot more Pathfinder just in general. You've been kind of seeing that across the board. Also, a lot of people are using Conduit again, which I found interesting, especially we saw a lot of that yesterday on Olympus with Jin Burton and co. So interesting to see how these teams are able to just kind of be able to flex a lot, right? We saw that was their frustration with Furia. Keon basically saying, hey, let's play Pathfinder, someone play Newcastle, and then it was just a lot of, I don't want to play this. So if you're able to actually flex, if you're able to actually play new legends and learn new legends, that's what's seemingly taking people to the top right now in the pro scene, not just raw skill. You've got to be flexible, and I'm interested to see if we see new names kind of come out of BLGS because of that reason. We know a lot of ranked players out there, especially you guys that are watching that are grinders and old arena players. You have a big legend pool. You have a lot of people you have experience with. A lot of these pros were funneling in with this old meta that they were really good with the 3 legends that were meta at the time. Now, that's not necessarily the case. Interested to see how it goes. However, we do have one problem with, despite that all going on and people talking about the legend meta specifically, the map meta seems to be a problem for many. Many are coming out to say Olympus is the worst competitive map in Apex Legends, and we definitely need to look at getting past it, or at least getting a massive update for it, because it's almost unplayable. A lot of the casual player base out there doesn't necessarily agree with this, and His Watson even had to come out to explain why this map was so bad. Number one, it had so much dead space, the most of any map, and so if you get caught, you're basically just screwed. And if you're watched more than by one team, then you're really, really screwed. Buildings have little cover. There's really like no point to hunker down or hold this stuff because the buildings just suck. Then it also has the least amount of stuff, and so whenever you have less stuff, then it makes it more easy for these bad players to come in and get lucky or have a scenario that works out in their favor. When you have more stuff, it gives more room for outplay, for the better players that are in that lobby. On top of that, he says, I've noticed weaker players tend to prefer Olympus. So are you going to see a situation where bad teams in BLGS or less good teams start to win those maps more often because of the randomness that is out there? Now, just theory, of course, but this is the conversation being presented. Also, it is clear which maps are designed for pubs like Broken Moon and Olympus, and which ones are for competitive like Storm Point and E-District. Interested to see how this obviously moves forward, and we've already been talking about ALGS potentially getting a map update as well, with World's Edge making a change. Tony had also asked, what about Kings Canyon? But one thing to note, it's just weird that we are playing, competitively on older maps like Kings Canyon because the map wasn't designed for the movement abilities that we have now, and then also the mechanics that we've kind of developed over all this time as well. So interested to see though how it all plays out. One thing is safe to say with all these new maps, Furia looking like the best E-District team out there, at least according to NiceWig, and here's exactly his reason why. Roll the clip.
Best E-District team by far. The most erectile dysfunction is on Furia. Bro, they are so fucking good on this map. It's scary. Like, actually scary. Don't forget, they're now playing another comp on this map again. They were winning very consistently with Valk, and they switched off of it, maybe just to practice another comp in case it's needed. And now they're winning with fucking the Cat Pathfinder Bang. Like, they are winning consistently with two different comps on E-District. They are the most prepared and by far the best looking ED team. It's not even close. Furia with the first place, 12 kills here, bro. A 24-point banger.
Now, with all of that being said, remember, BLGS is totally different than ALGS, and we now have the confirmation from Apex Esports themselves to kind of go down and say, here are the teams in each individual groups that will be playing at the World Championship. Remember, some of these changes have been implemented since roster changes have been implemented. Some new teams got in, some old teams obviously lost their spot. So keeping it you'll start it off with Group A. That's going to be Moist, Cloud9, TSM, NRG, Disguised, NIP, ExoClan, Shadow 3690, FaZe Clan, and Oblivion. Moving into Group B, you'll see Fnatic, Complexity, Guild, Dragons, Legends Gaming, Makers, VKG, Elevate, X and Y, Meteor, and also don't forget, if you haven't seen the Legends Gaming roster, obviously it's been updated. Make sure to go check out our other videos as well. And don't forget, if you're not sure how the format works, these are all 10 teams in each group. You'll have these groups play each other. So it'll be Group A and Group B, Group A and Group C, Group A and Group D. All these guys will have their chance to play against one another. Personally, if you go through this line, I think you'll find out very quickly which ones are looked at as the stacked groups. Group C and Group D are Gaming Gladiators in C, Falcons, Luminosity, Noctum, Virtus Pro, Navi, Aurora, GHS, obviously one of those rosters that got in after the roster changes, Reignite, Eternal, and then Group D was Liquid Alienware, Alliance, Crazy Raccoon, Bleed Esports, Furia, Dreamfire, Stallions, and Interforce 36, Havoc, and 2R1C. With there being conversations of map changes, I'm interested to see if they're going to add E-District into the World Championship for ALGS after there's plenty of playtime and practice time inside of BLGS. I think that's probably going to be the case, especially since they've hinted towards World's Edge possibly not being there. With that being said, you have to start considering that BLGS now means a lot more, right? As you look at these teams practice this stuff, I do think that you're going to have scenarios where maybe Furia does have a little bit of an advantage going into this because now they're definitely one of the better E-District teams. Will that stay true over the next couple of months? Because obviously we're still a good ways out from champs. That is still to be determined. Interested to see what your thoughts are, though, as these maps do look to change. Also wanted to make mention over in the women's comp scene, Sabs actually came out to say that she was quitting Apex Legends women's comp and that she's been playing since day one. So grateful for the opportunities that they've had, but obviously it's time to finally step down and stop compromising my health and life as everything starts at 1 a.m. Really unfortunate how a lot of those around the globe kind of deal with the same issue. We talked a lot about APAC South coaches trying to coach from North American teams, or same, North American coaches for APAC South teams. It is a big bummer a lot of times, but was hoping the scene would develop and grow differently, but sadly it's not what I had in mind. It was a good run, but it is the end for Sabs. Unfortunate, and hopefully the scene does continue to grow in some way, but obviously we've been kind of stunted as of late, and hopefully all of esports of it for Apex Legends grows. Now, she did mention she'd be competing in the BLGS, just not women's comp, so the whole women's exclusive scene seems to not be going necessarily in a direction that some would have. Interested to see your thoughts in the comment section below. Like and subscribe if you want to stay up to date with all things inside the world of Apex Legends esports news. And until the next time, we'll see you all later, Gators.